Elen Silla Lumen Omen Tielvo. Today I will be discussing the 10 most important characters that were left out of the Lord of the Rings films by Peter Jackson. Before I give my list, please note that some of these characters on this list are credited with appearances in the films, but their roles were nothing at all like the books, or their plot lines were just cut entirely. This list also goes in chronological order of when these characters would have been introduced in the story. With that out of the way, here are the characters. Number 1, Fredegar Bulger. Fatty Bulger actually played a fairly important role within the conspiracy chapter of the Fellowship of the Ring. Not only was he one of the 4 conspirators, and thus knew about Bilbo's ring, but he also stayed behind and pretended to be Frodo to convince the hobbits that he was still in the Shire. Fatty was even attacked by the Nazgul, though he fled the house before the Wraith could enter. Number 2, Gildor Inglorion. Gildor was the first elf that Frodo, Sam, and Pippin met on the road in the Shire, and it was his company that scared away the Black Rider looking for Frodo. Gildor would provide some information to Frodo, with him being the one to tell him to head for Rivendell, and Gildor would send word back to Elrond of the events in the Shire, and would lead to Glorfindel finding the hobbits and Aragorn. Number 3 will come as no surprise to anyone, but that is Tom Bombadil, and by extension, Goldberry. Tom Bombadil is a strange character for sure, dwelling in the old forest and staying out of the wide world. But he did save the hobbits from Old Man Willow, and he gave them a place to rest and saved them again from the Barrow Downs, and gave them their barrow blades, which Merry would then use to injure the Witch King. And it is Tom who recommended the hobbits go to Bree, where they would meet Aragorn. Number 4, Glorfindel. Glorfindel was one of the characters who does appear in the movies for all of 3 seconds at Aragorn's coronation. It is actually Glorfindel who finds Aragorn and the hobbits in the wild, not Arwen. The Nazgul were scared of the power of Glorfindel and were driven into the river Bruinen and washed away by the flood. And obviously, outside of the main story of The Lord of the Rings, Glorfindel played a huge role in many of the events throughout the ages. Number 5, Elladan and Elrohir. While these are 2 characters, neither of them are ever seen without the other, so I'm counting them as 1 here. The twins play a much bigger role as they are the sons of Elrond and the older brothers of Arwen. They go out and track the Nazgul after the flood, and determine it would be safe for the Fellowship to leave Rivendell. Later in the story, they join the Grey Company, the Dunedain Rangers of the North, and traverse the paths of the dead with Aragorn. It is the twins who remind Aragorn of the paths of the dead, and they are with him every step of the way in the finale of the story. Number 6 is the first character in the 2 Towers to make this list, and that is Quickbeam. Again, he is technically in the movie, but just as one of the Ents at Isengard. His friendship with Merry and Pippin is completely cut out, as is his role within the Ent storyline. Number 7 is Erkenbrand. Erkenbrand plays a big role in the Battle of the Hornburg, because he is the one who arrives with Gandalf and the reinforcements in the climax of the battle. Erkenbrand was also the commander of the Hornburg itself, and its defenses were largely intact because of him. Number 8 is the first character from The Return of the King, and that is Halbarad. Not to be confused with Halbrand from Rings of Power. Halbarad was one of the Dunedain Rangers of the Grey Company that joined Aragorn for the Paths of the Dead, the defeat of the Corsairs of Umbar, and he would be killed in the Battle of the Pelennor Fields. Number 9 is Prince Imrahil. Imrahil is quite possibly the most important character left out of the films. Imrahil saved Faramir during his retreat and brought him to Denethor. Imrahil was then the Lord of Minas Tirith, while Faramir recovered and joined in the Battle of the Morannon. Imrahil also fully recognized Aragorn as the Return of the King, and he did not contest his claim to the throne. And the 10th and final important character left out of the films is Lotho Sackville Baggins. Lotho was directly responsible for the scouring of the Shire and the hobbits becoming oppressed by Saruman. While Lotho was already dead by the point of the return of the hobbits, his influence is seen throughout the back half of the Return of the King. One quick add-on is I forgot to include one of the most important characters left out of the films, and that is Baragond. Baragond was the one who saved Faramir from being burned. He had a great friendship with Pippin, and that friendship caused Baragond to go into Rathdinin and try to prevent the slaying of Faramir. Faramir would have already been burned by the time Gandalf and Pippin had arrived if it had not been for Baragond. Can't believe I forgot about him. But now he's on here. So instead of 10 characters, it's 11. And that ends my list for the most important characters left out of the Lord of the Rings films. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. As always, feel free to like and subscribe for more content, and let me know your list in the comments down below. Thanks, and as the elves say, Namarie.